Recently, I rediscovered my love for chess. I'm really enjoying playing chess and I'm making a lot of progress. And I recently saw a podcast that really inspired me about how to get good at chess, but not only to get good at chess, but to get good at other things. And what are the links between getting good at one thing and getting good at some other thing. And there was this podcast with this guy on Joe Rogan called Josh Waitzkin. He was very good at chess when he was a child and when he was like a young adult. And then he switched from playing chess to doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And he got really good at that too. And he said something about learning to get good at something. When you're getting really good at something, when you get to the very top of a game and you're getting really good, then the things that are required for being there are quite similar in different skills. And if you learn to understand these principles, you can actually transfer the skill much more easily onto something else. And I find this principle really fascinating because he said that he actually saw a lot of people that were really good at chess that actually failed to take the stuff that they learned, like the excellence that they achieved in chess, onto other areas of their lives or of their endeavors. And what he did say, what the reason for that is that if you get good at something, what you have to do is you have to learn to kind of like teach, or you have to teach it or learn it in a language that's transferable to something else. And for example, in chess, if you're just learning the opening moves, you're learning the middle game, the end game, you're learning the strategies and all that, but they're only just very specific to chess, but they're not more general, then you might not be able to transfer the excellence that you learned or that the skill that you got at chess to be able to transfer that to something else. But if you start to see like the core principles that are building the success in that chess game, then you might be able to transfer them to some other areas of your life. And I found this idea really fascinating. And also, I started to recently see kind of parallels between chess and other aspects of life. For example, if you've ever played chess, you know that there's like one line of pawns on both sides, and then behind the line there's the more valuable kind of figures, which are the rook and the knight and the bishop and the king and the queen. And the pawns, in the beginning you feel like, well, these pawns, they're not important at all because they are just, in chess they're only worth one, like one pawn is worth 1 point, a bishop is worth 3 points, and the rook is 5, the queen is 9 points. So if you say like, okay, pawn only has 1 point of value, but for example the queen has 9 points, so then I don't really care about the pawns, I can just waste them. But actually that's not true, because if those pawns get to the end of the board, they're going to be converting into a queen, right? And so it's fascinating, because it's kind of like if you look at your life and there's certain little things that you start to kind of invest into. If you invest into them and care for them in a long run, at the end they can turn into gold, or they can turn into a queen, and suddenly you have much more powerful position to play with if you cared for these pawns to be able to advance and like make sure that they don't get beaten. And that's kind of like a similarity that goes on to some other parts of your life too. That's like a parallel that I start to realize, which is that long-term investment is also shown in chess. Because if you don't care for your pawns, you don't have the long-term investment, like you don't care for your long-term investment, then you will never be able to get those returns and actually, make another queen and make another, very powerful, figure. And that's, the same with investing. If you invest some money into something, or even just, on some, buy some ETFs, and you just take the money out after half a year, you're not going to make any real progress. But if you add it in there and you keep it there and you keep caring for it, that means like maybe you add more money, or you just make sure that it stays there, it's going to increase in value. And so that little parallel is one thing that I kind of find fascinating to see, because you can say, okay, so you just have to make sure that the pawns are cared for so they don't get eaten, and then there's no potential anymore to make another queen. But you could also look at it in a different way, that you say like, okay, actually I have to make sure that I'm invested, like what I'm doing is actually taking into account the long term of the game. Like I'm looking ahead, I'm looking at how do I have to play this game so I'm going to win in the long run and not just in the short run. And so this is like a more general principle, which is coming from chess, but it's actually inapplicable for a lot of other areas of your life. And yeah, I see, like, I do love to dance. I do love to dance salsa and bachata and other dances. And to get good at one dance, if you get good at one dance, you can easily get good at another dance too, because you understood the principles of dance, of music, of rhythm and musicality, but then also of how to learn something, you know. And yeah, I just find it fascinating, because some people, they are able to get good at a lot of things very quickly, and other people, they're only able to get good at one thing and not able to transfer these things onto other skills. So yeah, maybe that's an inquiry for you to do. Like, if you've been failing at getting good at one thing, but then wanting to get good at something else and weren't able to, maybe, you know, that could be the reason. Or if you want to get good at something else and you think it's going to take a really long time, maybe it's not going to take that long if you understood those principles of excellence and you had like this more general kind of, you know, language or approach to getting good at that and achieving excellence in that, and then you can transfer those skills. Anyways, that was what I want to share in this video. I hope it was useful in some way or another. Let me know in the comments if you have anything to share about that and your experience with transferring excellence from one domain to another. And I wish you all a great day. Bye, everyone.